Okay, hi Mickey. Thank you for joining us on this Zoom chat. Obviously, we're here to talk about the academy and the trial dates ahead this month. So let's get stuck in. So obviously, you must be very excited about your new role as head of academy. So our first question would probably be: is how do you think you'll find adapting to this role, whilst also working alongside Robbie Simpson with coaching the first team?
First of all, obviously, I'm really excited about the new role. I think it's been documented on social media and stuff like that. I'm really excited. I think the whole club is, and everyone I've spoke to, the feedback that we've got, there's so much excitement around it. It's great. Working alongside Simo with the first team, I think that was what it was all about, really. In terms of the whole point of it was to have for the community in that genuine pathway. So, with myself as being assistant manager and academy manager, it does give it that pathway, that link in between the two, as well as obviously Simo, he shows a great interest in it a lot, and I'm sure he'll be down a lot as well, along with Wardy as well, who's involved in both, and all the other staff, the goalkeeping coaches, the physios. So I think it will work well, and that's what it was aimed to do, to have that genuine pathway, that bridge in between, and I think it will work well.
And obviously, are you still intending to play next season as well?
Yeah, still intending to play. Still be registered as a player. Still feel like I've got a lot to give. Obviously, last year wasn't great in terms of my injury. I've now recovered from it, so it's just a case of trying to get that match fitness and getting up to speed. But I shall be available.
Obviously, you mentioned Elliot Ward. He'll also be working with you and coaching in the academy. Can you tell us a bit about how you'll both be working together, and also just how important it is to have someone with his experience, not only as a player, but with his UEFA B licence alongside your UEFA A licence, working with us?
I think obviously Wardy's CV speaks for itself. He's got so much experience playing in Premiership, playoff finals at various top clubs. So his experience playing wise is very good for all the young lads to aspire to. And regarding the UEFA B and his coaching, and that's something that he's come out of the game and he wants to get cracking with and learn. And you could see already that he knows what he's talking about. And to have someone every day, I think if you're coaching people every day and you've got the same face, the same voice, the same opinion, I think with Wardy there, it will give us each other to bounce stuff off. There might be things that I'm thinking that he might say, no, I think that. And it's just, you need someone to have that, and it's probably why all clubs have assistant managers and coaches and etc. Otherwise, it would be quite an easy job.
Yeah, I agree. So how did you get into coaching yourself? How did you get to where you are today with your UEFA A licence?
So I come out of football. I come out of professional football. And then you kind of find yourself thinking, what am I going to do next? Like probably thousands of footballers every year, whether they're Wardy's age, retiring, or semi-retiring at 36, 35, shall I say, or during when I kind of come out of it, and especially this year, it's going to happen even more. And then you kind of start thinking, what am I going to do? You start looking down jobs and all that side of it, and you're in a football bubble. You don't know, all you know is football. So I kind of went back to that. I mean, when I was playing, you kind of think, I don't really want to be a football coach. I don't really like the look of that, because all you're really concentrating on is playing. But then when you come out of it, you soon realise in the real world, and as on building sites and offices and stuff like that, and all I know is football. So I decided to go down a coaching route, taking sessions, and then obviously to progress, you need to do your badges, get the hours on the pitch, and it just went from there.
And I remember you having a chat with Darren on the Claret Army podcast recently. Would you say any of your experiences as a player has helped you push yourself towards coaching? And Obviously, you mentioned taking things on board from previous coaches that you've had throughout your playing career.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of the stuff as a player, you just don't see the work that goes on behind the scenes, what a coach and what a manager has to do. You kind of take everything for granted. You turn up, the session's just set out for you, you take part, you go home, whereas obviously coaches and managers are constantly working. And now when you look back at it now, you more so think about what manager's done, what coach has done, what coaches worked well, and what they said, little things. There's always little phrases that stick with you from certain coaches. And that's probably, I've learned a lot in that sense. And then you look back and I kind of, when I coach now, I see a lot of stuff that I probably kind of done. And the coaches used to tell you, don't do this. I used to sit there thinking, oh, what's he on about? And now you just completely understand exactly where they're coming from in terms of when you're actually coaching and getting the best out of the players and that side of it.
And obviously, we know that you've also run your own academy and you have a history of obviously coaching prior to taking on your role of head of academy with us. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and what you do there?
So we started an academy where we wasn't affiliated to any club. I'm based in Norwich, and we basically had a 16 to 18 college program. And what we would try and do is get players to clubs. Obviously, they would do their education, their BTEC level 2 and 3, and we would not send them all because not all of them was good enough, and we'd never promised that. But the ones that deserved it or had a chance, obviously we had the contacts to be able to get them into clubs, to go on trial and give them that opportunity. So we opened that, which was called Road to Pro Academy, and it really worked well for a few years. And then we partnered up with Lowestoft Town Football Club, so they was affiliated to a club, so they had that sort of pathway where we had a good 6 or 7 players last year play for the first team, whether it was on as a sub or on the bench. It was involved quite a lot, which is great. So yeah, that was how it started. Me and my friend Danny Crow used to play as well. He used to do it at Lowestoft Town as well. So we kind of run that, and it was really successful, and it's really enjoyable as well because it kind of does take you back to your sort of scholarship days when you're 16 to 19, when you're with the boys every day. Obviously there's work to do and stuff like that, but there's change room banter and football banter, and it does make you feel a bit younger again.
And do you think that some of the ideas that you implemented with that academy, you think you might try and bring over the academy at Chelmsford?
100%, yeah. I think there's the way we run it was we tried to run it like an academy, like a professional academy. So when we was in our academy days where there was jobs around, where they had to obviously clean the classrooms, get the equipment, clean the dishes, all stuff like that. They all had responsibilities, they all had jobs, they all had discipline, really, as well as, like I said, enjoying it as well. So there's definitely a lot of things that I'll be bringing with me, and that I've learned from doing it for the last few years, and hopefully implement it at Chelmsford.
So obviously going on to our academy with our trials coming up very soon on the 18th and 25th of this month respectively. Can you tell us briefly what your plans are for those days, what you intend to do and run on those days?
Well, obviously it's been difficult in terms of what's been going on and the session itself. Ideally, we wanted to hold it a good month, 6 weeks ago, or as soon as we kind of knew that he's going to be running the academy. But circumstances have changed, so we wanted to wait so we could do a proper training session, see everyone 11v11 match environment. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen. So we couldn't wait any longer, so we've had to hold the trials, which is 18th and the 25th July, as you said, in the not self-isolation, but isolation in groups of fives, I think it is, with one coach. So the sessions will be run like that. So it's not ideal. But it will be organised in terms of there'll be a good few coaches there, not just myself, Wardy, Simo will be there. We're also under 16 coaches, Paul Nicholson and Mark are going to be there, which is great. So there's going to be a good few people there to obviously handle the workload of the different groups.
It sounds good that obviously we're getting coaches from the EGA involved as well. That's something really promising. Can you tell us like how many we've got signed up already, or do you know how many you're expecting for the day?
Yeah, Saturday the 25th, we're expecting around 30 players to be trialling. Obviously, they're not all going to be accepted, not just football-wise. They need the grades to get into Molsham, so that could be cut down. But then also you can get more players that sign up for the next week after they come for the first one. It's late doors in terms of recruitment. I think next year the recruitment will already be starting September for next year, whereas obviously this year it's been very late. So it is difficult, and there is obviously going to be hiccups, but it's a good number to start with. And the players that have registered, we've spoke to them all individually, and they all seem excited to come. So we're excited to see them.
Cool. Yeah, and we'll go into the whole link with Molsham shortly. But what are your sort of ambitions for the academy, starting with your short-term goals, leading into your long-term?
I think short-term, over the course of really short-term up until Christmas, we really need to just find our feet, get the lads, get them in, get them educated, get them training daily, getting a routine, obviously start recruitment for next year, get them feeling at home, and then we start trying to think about how we're going to get them in the first team, what they're going to do after, because it's not just about the link into the first team, and we want them playing all first team, which obviously is ideal, but we need to, the minute they come through the door, we need to start preparing them for adulthood, whether that be towards Chelmsford football team, and you're getting better and better and improving every day, or whether that's just in their work, whatever direction they want to take. So that's our main goal, is to be obviously better in the community, to be all the academy sides, all from under 7s up to under 16s, a real link, everyone on the right path, all the pathway up into the first team.
And what sort of attributes are you looking for in a successful trialist?
It sounds cliche, but attitude for me is probably the top one. Obviously, you want the top talent lad with attitude, but I think if you've got a lad with great attitude, then he can improve so much. So for me, you can kind of see it straight away in a session. When you think of a trial, you kind of think, I've got to get on the ball, I've got to do skills, I've got to show everyone what I can do. But we're experienced. You can see a player without having to see them do their best bits. You can see little things that they do. You can see in the warm-ups, their body language. You can see when you're sitting there talking in a meeting, are they looking at you? Are they really focused? When you're doing a passing drill, are they on their toes? Are they looking lackadaisical? Just a little thing in terms of their first touch. There's so many things you can kind of see in a player, and that's why obviously when I talk about the bubbles that we've got to do these sessions with, it's not ideal. But at the same time, we will be able to see enough of what we need to see.
Excellent. Okay. So obviously we'll go into the partnership with Molsham High School now. How will the academy work with its educational system with Molsham? What sort of grades are we looking for? And how does it all work?
So Molsham will be partnered with Molsham. We're based at Molsham, so the training will be done. They've got a full-size 11-a-side 3G pitch, and they've also got a 7-a-side, 9-a-side. I think it's a 9-a-side 3G pitch, which is both lovely, lovely facilities. And as the school as itself is a great school. So that was one of the main attractions to Moultrie. We didn't want to be a bums on seats. Anyone can get in. Doesn't matter about your education. We wanted to attract good players with ambitions to have good education as well. So Moultrie, obviously, we've partnered up with them, which is perfect. We'll be based there every day. We'll be training Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays. We'll be in the Youth Alliance League on Wednesday. And then obviously we train Tuesday, Thursday nights, which hopefully we should be able to get a couple of them or a few of them involved throughout the year, depending on obviously how successful they are.
Excellent. And obviously we announced that we'd be in the Under-19s Alliance for next season.
Yeah.
Obviously we can't announce who we've got until I think a couple of days' time now. But those fixtures look quite good. But are you excited to put up those academy players against the likes of maybe more long-term academies that have been around for longer and testing your own abilities as well?
Yeah, I think for the boys who maybe play in these leagues, it's good to test yourself not against the local players, because they've probably played against the same sort of players for the last 8-9 years. They probably know every player from the local area. So it's nice for them to play against these academies that have been running for a good few years. They're experienced from different areas, so all different backgrounds. So you experience all different stuff like that. And there is some real good teams in it. So there'll be some challenging games, especially for the new boys. Obviously, I haven't got a clue what our ability is going to be like as a team. So it will be a challenge, but it'll be a good test, and they'll enjoy it.
And obviously, we hear a lot about youth coaching in regards to, are you going to be focusing on the winning side of things? Are you going to be focusing on the players improving no matter what the result is? What sort of coach do you think you're going to be with the academy once you've got the players in?
I think it's got to be a mixture of both. In my opinion, I think you have to get the players to win games, because they've got to get used to that if they want to step up into the men's football. But at the same time, I don't think that should jeopardise their progression and their learning development. So I think, obviously, for us, we want the players to improve, because winning the Youth Alliance League is not the be-all and end-all, and it's not our main goal. But improving the players is. But part of improving them players is teaching them how to win. So then when they step up, and you've got the manager shouting at you because you've made a mistake, they're not going to go, oh, hold on a minute. So they've got to experience both, and that's part of what we'll be teaching them as well.
I think it's my ignorance if I don't know enough about this league, but is there like a promotion sort of thing? Was it relegation, or was it all just one league, kind of like in the MLS in America sort of thing?
Yeah, it's all just one league. There's no relegation. There's cups. There's obviously the Youth Cup this year, which we're excited about. But there's no promotion or relegation, no.
So are we eligible for the FA Youth Cup? I know in the actual men's FA Cup, I think you've got to be a team for about a year before you can join, or is it something that we can go straight into?
Yeah, we'll be entering the Youth Cup. Yeah.
Excellent stuff. Now, going back onto yourself again, now, obviously, it's known that you're the youngest ever player to play in the FA Cup for Norwich. Therefore, you must know how it feels to be a young player, to make your debut at a top level. So we were wondering, what were your feelings at that time? As a youngster, when you entered the pitch, could you feel like you were ready to play at that level? Or did you just go with the flow and see how you got on?
Yeah, I mean, when you're a young lad, I felt like I was ready. I felt like I should be playing week in, week out, because that is what you feel like when you're that age. I didn't think it was that much of a big deal. Not that it is a massive deal, but obviously now I'm coaching 16-year-olds, and I'm thinking it is quite a big deal. Now I'm looking at it. But at the time, no, you don't think anything of it. You think that you should be playing anyway. But yeah, it was good, great achievement.
And from that experience, what sort of advice would you give to any young player that would dream to have an opportunity such as the one that you had at Norwich?
I think it's just what most footballers would tell you, is to work hard, and have passion, be driven. I think you just got to think about how many footballers or how many boys want to be footballers, and you just ask yourself what is making you different to them. What is going to separate you from the thousands of other boys, in not just in England, in the world, that want to be footballers? Do you want it more than them? Are you practicing harder than them? What is setting you apart? And that's what I would say is work your hardest, give everything you've got, and once you're there, it doesn't stop there, because it will soon come crashing down if you don't carry on.
Yeah, we see that quite often with players who make it in and then they don't quite hit the expected heights. But obviously, from your times at the Norwich Youth Academy, how did you find starting as a young lad, growing up the ranks, and finally getting into the first team? Did you feel like you had to fight hard to get into that position, or was you always confident you were always good enough in order to make it into the first team?
I think I was always quietly confident. As I said, you always kind of think to yourself, oh, I'm better than him, I'm better than him. I wasn't one to go around saying it, but I think I had a little bit about me, which I think you've got to have the personality to do that. And I don't think a manager would play a 16-year-old if you didn't think that, if you think I couldn't handle it, or if I went on my debut and had a complete disaster, he probably knew I could have picked myself back up again and go again. So in terms of playing at a young age, it's not just ability and physicality, it's also personality. And I think that's what we will bring to the young boys as well, in terms of their character and what they can handle and what they can't handle. And I think it's gone out the game a little bit in terms of what we used to have to put up with as young lads, and probably rightly so, most of it, but some of it has got to stay, because that's why these young boys might not be able to handle the pressure when they've got 25,000 people booing you when you give away a pass. So I think it's all part of being a footballer. So yeah.
I mean, how did you sort of find? Obviously, you played in the FA Cup, but going from maybe reserve games, going into playing at Carrow Road in front of thousands and thousands of fans, did you feel like playing in the league afterwards more regularly, there was a lot more pressure on you to not make that bad pass, or not make that ambitious pass at the risk of losing it and having the crowd on your back?
A little bit, but I think a manager's job is not to let that young player feel like that. And I think even with a young player, I think no matter how many fans there are, I think they always kind of backing you, especially local boys, or boys that come through the academy, just like Chelmsford. They love their lads that come through the academy, or local lads, and that's, every club's the same. So I've never really felt that massive pressure. I mean, in terms of making a mistake, a little story on my first start in the league was Sheffield Wednesday away. There was, I don't know, 30,000 there because it was the Hillsborough anniversary. I was playing right back, and the first throw in I get, I do a foul throw. So obviously you're sitting there thinking, oh God. But like I said, the character, instead of me going into my shell, I just kind of laughed it off and just thought about the next thing. But they're the sort of things that could go wrong and could make a young player crumble.
Yeah, that definitely could happen with any other different player if they made that sort of mistake. And obviously, you mentioned yourself being a 16-year-old breaking into the team. For us personally at Chelsea, Danny Imre is a fantastic example of how it can be possible to make it into our first 11. And obviously, yourself and Robbie took the decision to put him in the first team after doing some training with the first team as well. And he seemed to just settle in with ease and didn't really look out of place. So, is he a sort of player who you're going to try to use as an example for the academy players on the trials and showing that it is possible to make it?
I think Danny's a perfect example of obviously what we want to do. He trained with us for a good chunk of the season last year, and you could see in training he was good and he could hold his own. But you still never know what's going to happen when you put him into the first team, the first game, the first crowd, first bit of pressure. You don't know how he's going to react. So you've still got them question marks over him. And it's not to say you put him in a game, he does bad, and that's it. That's answered the question. But you put him in that, and he answered the question the first game where he's outstanding. Second game, you think, can he do it again? Does it again. Third game, cool, he's doing all right, and he keeps doing it. So now you start to think, well, we've got a player on our hands. So for us, Danny's been a perfect example for what we want to do, and for the young lads that will be joining, they should be looking up to him and seeing what he can do, and hopefully that will spur him on.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. And obviously we brought in Guy Norton as well. I think he's only 17 years old, left back as well, played for the Chelmsford Youth setups before coming to us. Was he also another player that you saw some sort of similarities with Danny in regards to he can be good enough for the first team as well?
Yeah, it's the same situation. Guy come in training with us, and you see things in training, and you think, yeah, he's good enough. He's got bits, and then he does it. Can he do it consistently? Which he did, and then you think to yourself, well, let's give him a chance. So this year he's got his chance, and it'd be for him this year to obviously get in with the first team on a regular basis. Now he's a first team player, and now challenge himself. Can he do it and break himself into the team?
Yeah, and we'll ask one final one about the academy. We recently announced that Luke Owers and Shan Toms, their involvement with the academy and community. We can see them having a big impact and a big role with the academy. Do you also share that view, and are you excited to be working a lot more closely with both of them now?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously I never really met Shan and Luke properly. I knew them, but I never met them properly before I got the job back in February, March time. And since then, they've been brilliant. Shan's young, he's hungry, he wants to learn everything, wants to do everything. So you can't have enough people like that. And then Luke, his love for Norwich City Football Club is just second to none. He knows everyone at the club, everyone in the academy. We had 15 scout reports on all the players that could be coming through before I knew any of their names. So that sort of stuff is invaluable, and they've been brilliant to me, myself, Wardy, Simo. So as a team, it's looking good.
And I just thought one more actually before we finish. Obviously, we've brought in a fair few new players in for the first team now for next season. How excited are you just to try and work with these new players and try a new philosophy with yourself and Simo in charge? And what are your sort of ambitions for next season? Where do you see us going for the new season?
We're excited. I think not just on the, as we've been talking about the whole club as a whole, we're excited. We've got new players coming in. We've got old players that we wanted to keep that we felt that would really push us on, really share the same ambitions as us, the same desires, the same attitude. So along with the old players along with the new ones that are coming in, we're confident. Obviously, next year is very uncertain times in terms of budgets for clubs and all that side of it. So all we're going to be doing is taking each game as it comes, trying to stamp our philosophy on the playing style, trying to get them youngsters involved, and hopefully that will give us some sort of success.
Perfect, excellent, Mickey. Well, again, thank you for your time, and yeah, we look forward to chatting with you again soon.
Cheers.